Before I jump into my deck, I just want to thank everyone, all of the speakers. Thank you for your speech. When you guys were talking, I had to restrain myself as yelling out yes, because coming from the edge side, everything you guys talked about, any of the bottlenecks you guys talked about are everything that I'm facing, that I'm trying to solve. So thank you guys for setting that up, and appreciate you guys getting the rundown for that. So introducing myself, my name is Freddie. I have a couple hats that I wear. So I'm an executive at Foxlink, which we are a traditional OEM company. We manufacture a lot of the products for your Fortune 200 companies. I'm also the chairman for Sync Robotic, which is 100% owned by Foxlink. I'm also the chairman of Luminous, which I'll go into a little bit. And then I'm also the executive director for UBLink. It's important that I mention all these four positions because all four of these things are relative in my presentation deck. So before I go into where we are now and where we're trying to go, I want to paint the picture and let you guys know where the past has been. So Foxlink, the chairman is Tai Chung Kuo, and then we were established in 1986. We went public in 1999. We're doing revenue about $3 billion US since last year. And then we have global footprints all over the world. We're in North America, Southeast Asia, and then we have R&D all over the place as well. We employ about 25,000 people worldwide, so we have a pretty good global stance out here. Another company I want to mention before is Luminous, which is our security camera footprint. So we actually have a big security footprint in the United States, in North America. We're in a lot of small businesses, casinos. We're also in schools. We're also in banks. So we are doing a lot of traditional video surveillance, your cameras that you see in the office buildings for your school use, small businesses, and then we have our own cloud-based, your VSaaS that you normally heard of, pretty traditional-wise. And part of the reason why I mentioned these two companies is because that's where we're facing the problem. What all the speakers mentioned before, you run into traditional automation from the manufacturing perspective. We run into issues where there's short production lifetime now and then long development time for robotics. And also there's not a lot of flexibility with the robotics that you guys just mentioned. And that's where we're facing right now. And it's high cost. And there takes a lot of engineer resources to be able for us to deploy these robotics. In the traditional security sense, that's another issue that we face. Nowadays, want to do night shifts, but security is 24 hours. How are we going to be able to solve these problems? Labor shortage. And a lot of the implementations are specially trained. A lot of the duties, especially in North America, these security guards need to be trained. That skill is started to lose because there's not a lot of people who want to do these jobs. So it comes in conclusion where there's 3 Ds. There's labor shortage in dangerous work, dirty work, and difficult work. And I'm living in it. Our companies are living in it. So that's kind of the part of the reason why we started this company called Sync Robotic within it. It's kind of like we're facing these problems. We're trying to figure out a way to solve them. And another company that derived from this is UBLink. So UBLink, this company, we started last year. We built from the foundation up, we built 128 racks of H100s. So we work with NVIDIA to build the largest data centers in Taiwan. And now here you can see that we're ranked 31st in top 500 supercomputers. So with these computing power, the original idea was we want to be able to use this computing power to help all of the business in Taiwan to figure out how do you AI-fy your business. But coming from that perspective, we feel like we need to be the one to know how to use it first. So we went in and started developing the robotic use and Sync Robotic that we just talked about just now. But even before we start talking about what robots can do and where we're developing robots now and how we are looking at the future, we got to come back, even from our perspective, we need to start AI-fy our internal whole process. We need to clean up a lot of stuff. Even with our, traveling system for our employees to go travel abroad and pay for their receipts, we're still using paper trail at this day and age. And we're in a global company. We're a publicly traded company. We're manufacturing for world top 200 companies, but we're still in this world. We need to start datafying everything that we do. And how do we do that? We got to start going internal communication. We need people internally to start thinking AI. Everything they do, through and through. So that we can start generating enough database for us to be able to really generate value using these AI tools that is now widely open source for everyone to use. And talking about AI robots is again talking about we are able to face a lot of these problems with the traditional robots where pre-programmed, fixed task, long development time. These are all of the shortfalls of traditional automations. And we're facing that every day, right? The customers want us to be, more competitive in price. We're being forced during tariff, geopolitical issues. I got to manufacture in the United States. I got to manufacture in India. I got to manufacture in Vietnam. But I don't have that many engineers. Yet I don't have that many robotics that I can develop that deploy all these places. But the need is there, right? So these robots need to be smarter. They need to be duplicated as fast as they can, and they need to be flexible for us to be able to use and be able to, deploy to different areas that we need them to be. So we started with rule-based. Now we're moving into model-based, which a lot of the speakers now we're talking about. So how do we do that now? So like I mentioned before, we have all of these tasks, and that's the one thing that a lot of the CMs forget, and we now are holding, I believe, is a golden key. We're sitting on a golden vault that we need to open, which is data. And these are specific data, right? The open models, the foundation model, the ChatGPTs that you guys look at, all those models are trained based on the data that are off the internet. Everyone can access it, open source. But we have something that is so golden, which are the database within our manufacturing floor. We have 20,000 people employed right now as we speak, manufacturing all over the world. All of those are data. And those data you're not going to be able to find anywhere else. So we are trying to use these data and try to train these robots to do highly specific tasks. Again, it's talking about, driving value for us. This is value, right? Right now in this picture, this is actually in our factory floor in Taiwan, in our lab. We're manufacturing a lot of battery packs for EV cars, for motorcycles. A lot of the batteries need to be picking place. So now we're training them. How do we do that, right? If we can do this, even if the production time isn't as fast as traditional automation, it's okay because they can run 24 hours, 7 days a week. During lunch breaks, they can still be working. But how do we develop these tasks is very important, which is why we need to start using data collection on our shop floor. And not only for how much we're producing, but how do we produce them? Do we need the battery to be placed into a certain slot? Do we need the wire to be soldered in a specific way? Do we need to place it into a tool set? These are all the golden data that these robotics need to be able to develop these flexible robotics for us. And now we're actually playing around with NVIDIA toolset, like you guys just mentioned about. We have group that we run simulation data using these robots and run it through our system, implementing into our actual physical real data and train these robots to be able to do pick and place and do station work for us. So all of that wrapped into one is why we started Sync Robotic. You have the data center that I just mentioned, the database that we have from Foxlink, and we have all of this deployment that we could do. So we started the Sync Robotic last year with the help of a great team. So now we're going to show you where we are right now. So with Sync Robotic, like I mentioned before, we're trying to tie everything in together. We're not focusing on so much on the hardware of things. That's kind of the end goal. We're focusing on the total solution. We're trying to train the brain for these robots. And why do we think we can do that? Again, it's because we have all the database from the surveillance camera company that I just mentioned about, Luminous. So I have all the deployments and the database that I have to be able to train the robots and understand where do they need to be, how do they be useful. So right now, what we've done is we use we use DGX, using these robots to do the cloud training, and we run through the simulations of all the different maps that we have. So like I mentioned before, we're actually in schools, we're in renewable energy sites, we have subsidiary companies that are in offices that we can train these robots directly. So we have these database and understanding how to incorporate everything together. So here we go, who we're talking about. So we actually have our own power plants. So we have a subsidiary company that we do renewable energy for Taiwan. We have our own offshore wind farms. We have our own solar farms. And then we have our own industrial parks. Of course, we have parking lot within our buildings. In the schools, like I mentioned, we work through our luminous security companies. Warehouse logistics, we have that in our factory floor. Office buildings, we have all the R&D buildings throughout all over the world. So we can use us as the test rads for all of these applications. So we can actually build a lot of the different agents and also AI intelligence for these robots to use. And these could be duplicated to all of the different robotics. It doesn't matter if they're four-legged, it doesn't matter if they're eight-legged. As long as they have the application that can drive value for us, that's all that matters. So here's actually a little picture in our office. So this is actually our R&D office here in Taiwan. So we actually have our robotic dog surveillancing our office at nighttime. Again, going back to the problem, our traditional way of security is we have night shift night guards. With a building our size, we needed 3. We could never hire all 3 together. So we needed we're short staffed. So we're using these robotic dogs. We don't really need anyone. We just need one in the central control room. But they can do but these dogs are doing the patrolling for us. And what they do, we actually train the model to train them to see what are the door inspection, window inspection, whether the door should be open or locked. These are all preset. At nighttime, all the doors should be locked. There should be no lights on. There should be no AC on. All of this is connected to our central intelligence system. And then we have the thermal inspection. Our robotic dogs are actually running the security in our data center to do the thermal inspection. So if anything overheats, it will let us know. So it will alert the central control system. And then intelligent patrol route setup. So we have preset route for these dogs already. So by the hour, they can go do the patrolling and come back. If nothing wrong, they will just go back and charge and rest. Like I mentioned, this is our data center, and our dogs are actually in there training, patrolling, and then they can see whether there's any kind of thermal runaway within the data center, anything wrong with it. And then also for our pipelines, we have a water cooling system for all of these data centers. They read the gauges to make sure that all the water pressure, everything is correct. And this is all done because now this AI and open world that we're able to train a lot of these data, especially using our own data centers, we're able to train all of these models to be deployed onto our dogs. And here, this is actually our site in Tainan, in Taiwan, our solar farm over here. And then we actually deploy our dog over there as well. So dogs are low to the ground so they can actually see underneath the solar panels whether the screws are loose or if there's any kind of corrosions, detections. And of course, they also go check inspection for a lot of the gauges to make sure that everything is running clean, everything is running smooth. And then they check on the pipes as well, making sure the pipeline, there's no leakage. There's nothing wrong with that. And here is infirmary that is in Taiwan that we actually had the dogs to go run to do the inspections, because these are difficult places and these are harsh environments that normally people don't want to go in. So we use robotics to help solve the issues where they still need to make sure that all the inspections are done, all of the checkpoints are done, whether your windows, your doors are closed or not. And then also any kind of abnormality inspections. So we're also doing that as well. So these are all the models that we are implementing, and we're running these POC for the past 3 months just in Taiwan and all these different places. And we're focusing on these industrial use purely because the reason these data are so valuable, and these are very, very siloed businesses that still has a very hard demand that they need these robotic solutions. And again, another problem is not a lot of people want to work in these environments, to be honest, right? So this needs to be done by the robotics. Warehouse application. With the warehouse applications, we can do our SKU checks. It's connected to our central inventory accounts. So everything is linked together. So they can be able to see what are the pallets coming in, how much SKUs do we have, are we having the correct number, and then also have any kind of gas inspection, also thermal that we just mentioned about, and anyone that's not supposed to be in the warehouse because it's connected to our access control at the warehouse. So whoever goes in, it needs to be logged in. Whoever needs to go out needs to be logged in. If you showed up at a place where you're not supposed to be, the dogs will find you and they'll be able to alert the manager if it needed to. Yeah. So we haven't got there yet. So our vision really is, how do we combine everything that we already have, right? It's creating value. It's not something that is so abnormal as a brand new thing. It needs to blend in to our normal life. That's how you really scale. That's how you really feel very natural. So with the traditional security already there, with the footprints there, it just added more value to it by being able to do patrol. If you think about it, if you break it down in a very layman's term, these dogs are basically cameras walking around. They're just patrolling, right? So how do we create that value is what we really are trying to drive. And then we want to make sure that from the manufacturing perspective, how do we generate the flexibility that we need for manufacturing floor to be able to go everywhere else in the world, right? To be able to expand as a CM. That's a huge task that we're undertaking. And robot as a service. So we want to be able to provide, again, a service for our customers, you know, from the security perspective, that it's a service that you can use, right? It's helping you to patrol, helping you to check on the things that you don't really think about, and, you know, having less human interactions or less human power that is needed in these places. So, you know, with that all wrapped up, I think going back to what we're talking about, I think this is a very exciting time. And I believe that a lot of these use cases are, we need partners as well, right? I think this is something that we can all work together, because it's a huge task to undertake just for one company. It's a partner for everyone. And I believe that, you know, everyone that is here came from the same mindset. And I really do believe that, you know, there's be something great in the coming years. That I think we should be able to do something great. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it.